Thank you very much, Ron and Happy, for this opportunity, and thank you all viewers for keeping it on Smart 24 TV. Well, as of March, the agriculture sector was the fourth credit-taking sector. It was at 9.9%. With me is Mr. Anthony Kituuka from Equity Bank. He's the managing director. He's going to give us a bigger insight on the performance of the agriculture sector in terms of support and financial intelligence. Thank you very much. You're most welcome, Mr.
Thank you
Anthony.
very much, Martha. Thank you for having me
Give
on your
us
set. Thank you.
more of yourself.
Ah, more of myself. No, my name is Anthony Kituuka, Managing Director of Equity Bank Uganda, banker for over 15 years.
Yes.
Yes,
Our first question is in regards to financial literacy.
yes.
How are you giving financial literacy to the farmers? For example, the youth and the women.
Okay, I think one of the things as Equity Bank we've realized is that agriculture does not get enough or sufficient funding. And probably even from a GDP contribution perspective or budget perspective.
Yeah.
So as a bank, we've chosen to take that on. As part of our Africa Recovery and Resilience Plan or program,
Yes.
we have said we want agriculture to get 30% of all our lending. That 30% will not only be to the big manufacturers, the big off-takers, but we want to increase capacity at the grassroots level, at the farmer level. Increases capacity to produce, capacity to sell, increase capacity to add value. So our focus on that has been, we pick particular crop cycles. And we have said, what we'll do is we'll work with partners. We'll help us ensure we get the right seeds, factor inputs, seeds, pesticides, herbicides, equipment, tractors, plows, whichever is appropriate, okay, to improve capacity at that level. Now, what we're also seeing is we're not seeing very many youth getting involved in agriculture because the youth of today seem to be more interested in what we'd call the urban life. They want to come to Kampala, they want to ride borders, they want to do sports betting. But how are we trying to show them that agriculture is beneficial, a good income activity, and they can provide? Because you see, if we help them use technology to be involved in agriculture, they like technology. Some of them are happy to be operators of drones as they go over fields. Others are happy to design programs which can ensure we're tracking output of different farmers on different products. And we're linking the youth, the women, and the farmers to off-takers. Because we know the off-takers already, the big companies which take the produce, be it coffee, be it maize, be it soya, be it barley, we know who they are, we bank them. And by introducing the youth and women at the production point, you're empowering them and skilling them. Bringing in the partners who help you with those processes. Some are government bodies, other international bodies interested in that. The last aspect, of course, is ensuring the best price, best market. So their market can be domestic, as in Ugandan goods consumed by Ugandans, because they have the right quality to match what people are importing, or regionally, export to South Sudan, export to Rwanda, export to Kenya, export to Tanzania, export to DRC. So as a bank, we're looking at it end to end, not just from the growing, we say it's from plant to plate.
Yes.
The point is the seed is put in the ground to the point the product is consumed. And that is how we are linking all those. And of course, we're trying, of course, therefore, increase our learning at that point.
As a bank, you're all known for having branches
Yes.
across the country, which is making it very accessible for everyone.
Yes.
For example, if someone is coming for an agricultural loan, what do they expect to be provided to them? Do they expect to be asked for security? Do they have to have those hard terms around them before they get these agricultural loans?
One of the challenges around agriculture, of course, is we have seen is because most of the farmers are small holders. They have small pieces of land.
Yes.
And the only way you can get value is if you combine with other people doing the same thing to produce enough capacity to be consumed by the off-taker or to be exported. So when you come to the bank, we also know that a lot of the land in some cases is not even owned by the individuals, owned by a community, especially in North Uganda, for example. So getting a land title might be a difficult thing to do. So with equity, we focus on linking you to the person who will buy your produce. So I am de-risked by saying that if you deliver for me 1 ton of maize, I will pay. So I make sure I find the person who's going to buy the maize. I make sure I have a contract with him. I make sure the person who is doing the planting does it the best way possible by making sure he's doing the right practices and so on and so forth. I want to also make sure this person doesn't sell the maize to somebody else. So I will lend him against the fact that he will be paid by the off-taker, and I'll get my money when the off-taker is paying him. So a lot of tripartite contracting between farmers and off-takers. Off-takers might be companies or manufacturing agro-processing companies.
Yes.
It could be exporters. So as long as I know the off-taker and the farmer agrees to follow particular procedures, we have various agricultural products which allow that.
Yes.
The third aspect is I can bring in parties who de-risk. Some people are happy to say, if you need that person, I will take 50% of it. If he fails to pay, I'll pay 50%.
Yes.
So we have risk guarantees, risk sharing guarantees. So again, we bring partners in like MasterCard Foundation, UGEFA. There are all these different parties who are coming in, who are happy to help support, even the government itself through its agricultural credit finance facility. That person helps us de-risk. So you must be required to give security.
No.
As long as you have a clear person you're going to sell the products to, the produce to.
Yes.
And you're going to be disciplined in doing so. They won't give you money, and then you sell it to somebody else, then they can't recover my money for that point. So that is where, so we're happy when you put you in groups, you're selling to a cooperative, who is selling to an off-taker, and I can be involved in that process and can see where I will get paid from. Because we understand, you will have a title.
Yes.
So truly you have a contract, you have an opportunity, that's what we're looking for.
Okay. On an estimation, we've made sure that there are about 265 billion loans dispersed to the agriculture sector.
Yes.
Okay, as a bank, you'll give us your estimation, but still, do these loans only cover the bigger agriculture picture, or you have specifics like you go to livestock, you go to fishing, you go to piggery, you go to something like that?
I think I would say our lending is across the entire spectrum.
Yes.
Let me use examples. Cattle fattening. We are probably one of the biggest financiers for cattle fattening. Fish, aquaculture, flowers,
Yes.
the usual, the other smaller produce, beans, maize, soya, barley, cotton, coffee, livestock obviously, piggery, poultry. I don't think I even think about finding somebody who's doing a silk project, a silkworm project.
Wow.
So as long as I said, we look at the level of organization, level of structure, the off-taker, and some guys have security.
Yes.
So dairy, most dairy people have security. They have got big farms and so on. They've got an off-taker who is clear. Forestry, trees.
Yeah.
So I think we are, as long as there's a clear opportunity to have impact, and impact means on many people, and we are ensuring there's a market, either export or off-taker for manufacturing, we're good to go.
Yes. A viewer would also want to know, you see your Africa Resilience and Recovery Plan is a very beautiful thing.
Thank you.
But then, it is still on a level of people understanding it clearly.
That's true.
Still now, a farmer, anyone in agriculture, they would want to know their benefit under this plan. What are they having as their cup? What is their portion of cake in this plan?
I think, like all big plans, sometimes it is very difficult for everybody to understand the entire big plan.
Yes.
So our focus is making sure that everybody understands their small bit in that big plan.
Yes.
Okay? So because sometimes it might confuse people. You can't do everything. So you say, what is your bit? As agriculture, my job is this. Equity wants to capacitate, improve the capacity of your farm. So if your farm is 3 acres and you are doing maize, and from each acre you're making 1 ton, how do you move from 1 ton to 1.5 tons?
Yes.
Now, what does that require? It requires us to look at everything. Look at your farming practices. Look at your tools you're using. Look at the seeds you're using. Look at the mechanization you're using. Or the practice, are you using rain-fed agriculture, are you using climate smart? You have irrigation. Look at the pesticides, the herbicides, the weeds. your own practices. When do you weed? How do you do it? The labor force you're using. How do you store when you've harvested?
Yes.
So that process, so your part will not be, you don't have to understand the full program. Just understand that our aim is to increase the capacity of your small piece by 50%.
Yes.
And we'll give you the steps for that. Now imagine we do that and we just one by one makes a bundle. We just keep increasing. Next thing you know, we've increased capacity of that crop by 50%.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be about breaking the whole program down. Just everybody understanding their bit. The person who's doing logistics, who's doing transport, if he has one truck, how do you move to 2 trucks? Because, and then now the load to be transported has been doubled. How do you finance that? The person who is doing storage, who has one warehouse which has 200 square meters, how do you move to maybe 400 square meters? Because there's more stuff to be stored. So it is very systemic, it's very, very organized, very synchronized, very clear. And we now know which buttons to touch, and we now also in the background we're finding partners, because we can't do it alone. I won't be the one to train you on certain elements of agriculture, because it's not my core business. But I will find partners who do that. I'll find government agencies who do that. I'll find NGOs who do that. And I'll show them I have 100,000 farmers who are doing this. Use some of your funding or your technical expertise to make this happen.
Yes.
And that is what we're doing.
Okay. Now, as conclusively, this financial year
Yes.
is starting. Next, they're going to read the budget in June.
Yes.
You yourself, you stated that the agriculture sector is still not properly funded, which is right.
Yes.
Anything you would want as a projection as we are starting this coming financial year, what would you give as an advice?
Well, again, I'm cognizant of the environment we're in,
Yeah.
the macroeconomic environment. I know that I'm cognizant based on what I've seen in the budget framework documents and the plans of the government in terms of national development plan and so on, price development model and so on. I do believe that there's a bit of, not right sizing, that's the wrong word, of proper allocation based on the needs.
Yeah.
Obviously, in the past few years, there's been a lot of focus on health because of the pandemics we've been dealing with and so on and so forth. I'm sure the government in its wisdom will now know how to allocate. I know in the past also with some debt we've been paying, and that must continue to maintain international order in terms of getting financing in the future. I can't prescribe what the budget will be, but I can tell what equity is trying to do. And for us, we have said of our lending, 30% of our lending should go to agriculture. And if the government as a proxy can use moving towards that level, because that's our competitive advantage. So towards agriculture, not just at raw material stage, but at value addition stage, and so on and so forth. Foreign income will come through, better infrastructure, partners, investment will come through as well. So I think I understand what equity will do. The government, of course, has its own priorities, but also if you look at their plan, there's a heavy element around agriculture and modernizing it to add value and enhance, and also programs in that direction. So I think there's an alignment. Private sector wants to do it. Government wants to do it. It's just a matter of what the priorities are at a given point of time in the cycle.
We talked about this is in part of the manufacturing sector. You see, the agriculture sector goes with the manufacturing sector.
A big part of
and
it,
then there's less value addition for the farmers. We have the products, but then we have to again transport them to be made better. Why is it still like that?
No, I think it just comes down to organization. I think different sectors have different strengths. Farmers who could have, and I want to thank the government because they're trying to improve the road networks, access to market. So roads, if you drive up, country roads are really good in most of the areas. So at least the produce can move from the farms to either a storage location or processing location. Maybe it's around logistics, meaning types of vehicles, availability of vehicles. Yes, there might be something also about road network in some of the areas. So some people choose to specialize in transportation. Some people, it's primary transportation, meaning factor inputs in, and secondary distribution, meaning finished products out. But again, it's a factor of various other things. So I don't think a farmer can do everything. Some are big enough to do everything, but as if you go to more developed economies, they focus. Somebody does transport, that's what he does.
Yeah.
Somebody does production, that's what he does. Somebody does raw material processing, that's what he does. So it's just about organization. And I think cooperatives can help with that. And the government is trying to do with circles and cooperatives to try and aggregate, distribute, transport, logistics. I think cooperatives will help that. And as a bank, we're heavily supporting that. I think PDM will help with that as well.
Thank you very much, Mr. Anthony. Well, as an agriculture-driven economy, we're looking at farmers getting all these resources to build their farming sector, to make sure that everything is there for them, and the banking sector has given their part. It's up to the farmers now to make it better. Thank you very much.